Welcome to another gorgeous day, another staticky day, and another day of Dose of Did You Know, where inspiring and treating unique individuals come to talk about love and life and how it brought them here today. And with me is Mr. Richard. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. So, tell the world before we get right in, down and dirty, and I start this conversation about so many questions I have. Tell the world a little bit about who Richard is.
Married father of two. Work on a farm all day long. Been in the military surplus business for better part of 3 decades.
Okay.
That about sums me up pretty quick.
There he is. In one little bucket, there he is. What is it like being a farmer? Because we talk about this, I don't talk about it, but I hear about the farm industry and how difficult it is and all of these, like the big farms versus the small farms. So I'm fascinated. This is not why you were on, but I got to know. I got to know what that's like.
It's been, my dad wanted to get back. When he was little, he worked on a farm when he was in his, even in his mid-20s before joining the military. And he wanted to raise Scottish Highlanders. They're long-haired, fuzzy cows. And he wanted them because they looked neat. So in 2014, we got our first Highland cows. And we had as many as 70 at one point. And now we've got, I want to say, close to 35, 40 of them.
Yep.
It's been certainly different. I've been used to traveling, doing trade shows and stuff in the business, and then all of a sudden one day I'm shoveling cow poop. So,
I think that goes with having cows, right? Cow poop, big poop.
Yeah. It's. I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit because it keeps me outside more often.
Yeah.
As opposed to cooped up in a van driving to a gun show. I've been outside and, every day, twice a day, I'm down doing chores. Other days, I'm down there fixing fence. I'm down there putting in hay, all sorts of stuff. It's just nice to be outside.
Okay, and is there anything different besides that these cows have long hair and they look unique that is different? Do you slaughter them and eat them, or are they just milking cows? Like, what is the difference? I'm ignorant to this stuff.
Another big difference with Highland cattle is even the females have horns. So it gets fun sometimes. We raise them as beef animals.
Okay.
The beef that comes off of them is generally around 90-95% lean because they've got these massively thick hides. And all summer long, these animals are sweating and sweating. So they don't naturally have a lot of fat. If you want a really good steak, you got to cook it really slow with these animals because the fact you can overcook it real quick because they're marbleization of cattle.
So how do you get this meat? Like, can I order it from your farm and you send it to me? Or no?
We're not doing ordering yet, but locally in my hometown, we have a store called the Bacon Ranch, and that's where we sell our Highland beef and pork that we have raised. And so
I have to go all the way up to, like, what are you, upstate New York? Is that where you are?
Yep.
Great. I got to drive all the way to upstate New York to have my first Highland cow, steak, whatever.
Yep.
All right. Well, I do like road trips, so that might just have to happen. But the reason that we connected is that you wrote a book. I have it right here. You wrote this book, and I love how you described it. And guys, I know that there's this feedback coming back. You're just going to have to hopefully ignore it. It's like kids when they cry and they're not yours, you just ignore them. Or when they are yours, you just ignore them. At least that's what I did, Tough skin you got to build. Hence probably why my son became a Marine. He's like, But no. Besides that, you took, I love how you say it took decades, it took a couple of decades to write this book where it started off one way and ended up in a whole other version. So talk a little bit about that. Like when you first started writing, you said it was kind of like a conspiracy theory. Well, like you said, I'm saying it nicer than what you wrote about it yourself. But what made you even start like verbally vomiting on paper these thoughts
Well,
that you were having, or were they your thoughts, or just?
I doing the gun show circuit, especially. I met a lot of very interesting people over near 3 decades, and some of the guys that would come in were definitely, the government's listening, the government's doing this, and now they, like most people, probably have an Alexa in their house, so the government is listening. But I heard a lot of the personal conspiracy theories from people. And that was prior to 9/11. And I thought, man, some of these guys, they're a little off their rocker. And I later started to, after 9/11 especially, I started to wonder where exactly this country was headed and the possibility of, at the time, the possibility of a mass, full scale, 50 state 9/11 moment was present in my mind.
Yeah.
And as the years went on and they turned into decades, it was kind of like, okay, there's still this possibility, but what is it? There's no real legitimate reason for it.
Right.
And it was in 2017 when I started writing, and I started seeing things on the news where people just stopped straight being kind to each other. They stopped treating each other like human beings. It became Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. It was labels. It all became labels. And that's when people just started being mean to each other. And
Mini
that,
buckets suck. Mini buckets suck.
yeah. And that for me became the basis of a possible civil war would look like, is the fact that the country just cannot get along with each other anymore.
Do you think that, like, going to all these trade shows and these gun shows and hearing all these conspiracy theories, right? Like, I believe that everything that we hear sticks in the back of our mind. And sometimes, and it becomes this like unconscious being,
Yeah.
that we don't even think that those thoughts are kind of running through us on a day to day, or they're making us react to situations differently than if we had never heard them. So do you feel like hearing those things and then seeing 9/11 and living through, 9/11 and then watching this transition that America has slowly come. It's like this seeping wound, I think, that like where, but I also think that we're on the upswing of it. I think we're becoming more patriotic and things like that. Anyways, I'm going to get off my question here on a tangent. I'll get on my own, patriotic soapbox for a second. But do you think that hearing all of those things over time kind of made you like started twisting a little bit the way you were thinking, or I don't want to say twisting in a bad way, but like, shifting it?
Up until 9/11, most of the stuff that I heard, I just kind of dismissed and let it go, because it was it was 18, 19 years old, or doing these shows for my dad, and it was just too far fetched for 18, 19 years old. And when September 11th happened, I'm like, wow, so some of these guys weren't too far off from what they've been saying.
Yeah.
And it did start to, I mean, even then, some of the stuff that was said to me stuck in my mind for years up until then. And it was like, okay, well, maybe that wasn't so nuts,
Right.
So it gave me a different perspective on what people had to say.
Yeah.
It forced me to listen to everybody's perspective of far-fetched government conspiracy theories to maybe not being so far-fetched anymore.
Yeah. I love it. Keith is watching, and Keith, you're cracking me up because bacon is from a pig, not a cow. But
Yep.
buffalo, I don't know. Maybe is that the bacon version? Keith, I'm not sure. He's talking. I got like sidetracked by bacon talk. I see bacon. I'm like, what?
Well,
um,
we raise pigs too, so.
all right. Is there? But before I get back into this book, is there a beef style bacon, or is that just like beef jerky?
That would, yeah, probably be beef jerky.
All right.
Which from time to time we've had pork jerky too, so.
Okay, and I have to read this one thing from Keith. I believe it's fake patriotism. Everyone is patriotic until I ask for their child to follow me. But flag is in the yard. Oh, yeah. Because I believe in that too. Like, it's okay for everybody else to go out and sacrifice, and I'll stand up and stand patriotic. But when you ask me to, or are you going to ask my child to go do it, there's a whole other set of rules when it comes to that. Part of it. So yes, Keith, I'm with you. Oh, beefalo is a cow and a buffalo.
What's that?
Beefalo is a cow and a buffalo mixture.
That would be different.
Hybrid genetic crap, Keith. We're not. That is like we're not doing that. That's like scary. Don't eat. But what I love about your book is I started reading it, and as I said, like I forgot to take it away with me, so I didn't get as far on as I wanted to get. But it kind of reminds me of like I'm a super big action buff. Like I love the real stuff, and then I kind of like the stuff that is like a little bit conspiracy theory that I don't know if it's real, but it could be real if I try to put it in there really hard. And somewhere your book is in between there. Like I could totally see those like the old school guys, like what's his like Sylvester Stallone or Jason Statham or like any of these. Those are my favorite, so those are the two I picked. Kind of playing out this role of your book. Did you have that kind of thought in your mind, or was that not even there?
No, it wasn't really prevalent in my mind when I was writing. I was writing based on initial thoughts and okay, if all of this stuff happens, and I went to the worst case. There was a time when we had our business was 30 miles from home. Right. Well, when I sat down and started writing, the business was now closer to home. So, well, you know what? We can put in there that the business was still far from home, and that's where the first chapter came in, where you find your protagonist trying to make it home on his own.
Yeah. So you put a little bit of real life mixed in with Richard's imagination and conspiracy theories that you've collected throughout the years, and a baby book was born.
Well, the conspiracy theories, that's actually going to be big in the next book. It really is. This is more the stepping stone for that. And it's going to be, it's more, what are the worst possible things that we could see if this happened? That's where I was writing this one from. And the next one is I'm working on it. It's like, okay, I got to have some fun with this. What crazy conspiracy stuff can I come up with?
Is it going to be the same characters? Are you going to take the characters from this book, because there's like a team, and then mesh it into the next? Like, I want to know.
Yes, a lot of the same characters will be in the next book.
Do any of them die?
I'll let you read the book, and some of the guys who read the book very early on, when it was still in a 3-ring binder, sent me some, we'll call them very colorful messages when they got to the I'm pretty used to some name calling because of how I ended the book at this point. So
really, okay. So see, now you're saying, Danielle, you should have taken the book with you because
on you.
One of the
guys who who read the book early in the 3-ring binder version, was at my house a few weeks ago, and we'd been having a drink or two, and about halfway through the evening, he's like, "I'm going to stab you." It's how I end the book. So, but he's also very personally invested because he knows almost all the basis for characters in the book. So
Right.
he has a really deep personal investment because he knows a lot of these people.
Yeah, yeah. That kind of makes it well, anytime I know even the author and I read a book, especially if it's about them, there's something about it like, I don't cry in books. I'm not a huge crier, although I did tell Keith last night I am an ugly crier, which is totally true. So it's like, I don't even know what I turn into, but it's not pretty. And maybe that's why I don't cry so much anymore. But when I know the author and I get emotionally invested, I'm like living it and feeling it, whether it's actually truth or not. It's like it kind of becomes that truth. I have a question. Is your real name Richard Maverick?
No. Maverick actually is derived from a childhood nickname from when I was in the Boy Scouts.
Oh.
So we were down at Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia for the National Jamboree back in 1993. I think I was 11 years old, maybe 12. And it was at a military base, and they were giving out patches and hats. And I went walking up to a tent with a friend of mine, and I had this Navy hat on with these aviator glasses. And one of the guys is like, "Oh, look, it's Maverick and Goose."
Yeah.
So it was one of the childhood nicknames that it was prevalent but never really stuck. And I thought, you know what, we'll throw that out there. That'll be a good last name for a writer.
It is pretty cool because he's saying Maverick's a badass name, or he didn't say badass. I put that in there. He said, but someone else, when I showed the book to when I first got it, he's like, "Is that his real name? Because that is a really cool name if that's his real name." So you could have lied. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that. One of my last questions before my last question is, did you ever think that you were going to write a book? Like what, when you were younger, were you a writer? Are you a poet? Are you, how did that come about?
I've always been able to tell a story. So the idea came to me, I think I was about 22 years old, where I wanted to write a book. And I thought a lot about it, and I thought a lot about it over the years. And there was some small attempt based on not having a realistic, in my opinion, a realistic reason for such a tragedy in the United States to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I could never seem to put it together. So when I saw the mass division that was coming through, I said, you know what, this is a realistic thing. This could be that thing that pushes people over the edge because they're being told, Republican, conservative, you need to hate each other. Democrats, you need to hate each other. So it actually made writing book very easy at that point.
Okay. All right. Who's the publisher of this book? Someone's asking.
I self-published the book through Book Baby. I had to take out a bank loan to make this happen. Mm-hmm. They actually a photo on the front, and there's a picture on the back of me from a shotgun training course.
Yeah.
Those were photos that I submitted, and they doctored everything up and made it look good. They made it look really good.
Yeah, they did.
And the back of the book was actually written by one of my early readers. He, after reading it, he says, "You know what? He said, this is what I took from it." And I said, "That's awesome. Can I use it for the back of the book?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll make some changes." I said, "I already did that." Yeah, which I changed all 4 words. That's all I changed.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's why got credit at the bottom of it with his initials and where he's from. So
I have to say, it takes a little bit of balls to kind of put a book like this together, I think, because in a world where things are so PC and nobody wants to talk outside the box, and so many people don't want to talk about the reality of division or conflict.
mm-hmm.
You wrote a book about it, and it's like I said, it's like an action movie that you're writing. So that takes a lot of guts, I have to tell you.
And it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of true stories in the book. There's a lot of true conversations in the book. They were just used in a fictitious manner. Obviously, the country's not breathing. We're not in the middle of a civil war, but some of the conversations, some of the incidents. When you get through the book, you can feel free to message me and ask me which ones, because some of the stuff that happens, you read it and you're going to be like, oh, there's no way. And then you're going to ask me, so yeah, that was true.
Well, if you think about it, think of all the conversations you have in private, with your closest friends, that if there was a little fly on the wall listening, or someone took it out of context, holy bejeebus, Batman. You know what I mean? People don't want to hear the real conversations that I have. I mean, I'm pretty upfront and honest out there in the world, but I can get pretty,
Yeah, I know, because when the guys get together, that's what it boils down to. Is some people do not need to overhear conversations with us.
I think there's a lot of people that can say that same exact thing. But I'm dying to finish the end of it now. Now I'm invested. I was like, I started it, and I went away, and I was like, but now I'm invested to finish the book. Although I did tell you I'm like awful at actually reading. I'm like an Audible person, so this is the challenge, but I'm doing it. Not that I can't read; it's just that time thing. I can read. Everybody out there, I can barely speak English, but I can read. I'll Google the big words if need be. But
I do that with some of the books I'm reading. I'm like, okay, I got to Google this so I can sound it out correctly.
Right? I'm like, what is that? But Richard, before I let you go back to all your chores and your duties, this is my last question. I ask you to answer it as honestly as you can. Actually, not as you can. Just answer it honestly with the first thing that comes to your mind. In this moment right now, Richard, what does love mean to you?
Family, without a doubt. I've got, I like you said earlier on, I'm married. I got 2 children. My son just turned 8. My daughter is 5. The moments, those family moments, that's what love is. It's those family moments, from the craziness which comes out of a 5 and an 8-year-old's mouths. My daughter tells people all the time. She's been telling people for 2 years. This is the scary part. I want to be just like my daddy when I grow up. I want to drink bourbon and smoke cigars. I do stuff other than that. But it's those
kids see the truth. They see and say the truth.
But I've got on my Facebook page, which I dedicate to family stuff. There's pictures. My kids invested in the farm. My kids feeding the cows, petting the cows. They're constant. Daddy, can we help you? Can we help you? Can we help you? That to me, that's what love is. Family is love.
Yeah. Yeah, and and it goes so fast. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were asking me about my, how I got started with the military. And it's a long, long story. It goes all the way back to like my history and things like that of like my great grandfather and stuff. But my son solidified it, and I was like, oh my God, how do I have he's gonna be 27 in January, 27 years old, and my baby's 19. Like, it goes so fast. So like 5 and 8 in a blink of an eye, they're going to be like 19 and 27, and you're going to
It's funny because it's been the blink of an eye, and they're 5-8 all of a sudden, and it's like, how did you get so tall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So cherish
So
those family moments for sure. Thank you for taking time out to share about who you are, the book, where it came from, all your thoughts behind it. I really do appreciate that. And to everybody else that is out there watching, remember as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, take care.
take care. Thank you.